So, my name's Arthur Chapman. I'm talking to you from Tavistock Gardens, near the Institute of Education in London where I work. And I've come here to talk to you about the SHP session I'm going to be doing in July, because it struck me this was a really good place to think about the things I'm going to talk about with you, namely history and story. Tavistock Gardens, I don't know if you know it, it's a place that's rich in history and story in all kinds of different ways. So just behind me there, you can see the BMA, for example, the British Medical Association, and that's a place that's tied up with the themes I want to focus on in lots of different ways, because the building of the BMA there is on the house in which Charles Dickens lived for 10 years or so in the mid-19th century. So Tavistock Square then is a place of storytellers, but it's also a place of dangerous stories, if you like, or stories that are warning us to think hard about how we organise time and the stories that we tell. Many colleagues may know that Tavistock Square and the BMA is where one of the 7/7 bombs went off, and that's a terrible story, but an action motivated by a kind of narrative. If you listen to how the people who set those bombs off talked about themselves and what they were doing. Right in front of me though, there's somebody standing there telling a story about it, and also filming, just to show that this is not activity unique to me or SHP conference promotion. But just over there, and I'm going to go and see him, we have a statue of Mahatma Gandhi, which is also a different kind of story. And as I say, this place is full of stories. So here he is, and the reason that the Mahatma, the great soul, is in Tavistock Square Gardens is because this garden is a peace garden. It's full of trees planted to commemorate various things. Just down in that direction, there is a tree and also a stone monument, and the focus of the tree is the commemoration of the Hiroshima bomb. And I'm standing right here by a friendship tree. I'll just show you that, because that's a nice concept to think about in a narrative terms. So what I'm going to be talking about in my session, and I'm really honoured to be able to be doing it, is story. How we use story to organise time. So I've just been telling you stories, I guess, about Tavistock Square Gardens, but not really getting to the nub of how it was created and why. There are many. I've been glancing, I suppose, at stories, but I've also hinted at the power of stories, which can be very dangerous. There are stories we can tell that fuel hatred, for example, and the legitimate, highly destructive actions. There are stories we can tell. For example, the stories that Mahatma told to motivate his campaigns in India and his arguments for liberation in that context. There are stories that we can tell that build positive movements for change, and there are stories of many kinds. And I think in history education we haven't focused on them enough. And I don't mean here just telling stories. Telling stories is great, but that's not what I mean. I think that learning history means learning to navigate stories, and to tell them well, and to be critical of them as well. And what tools do we need for that? Do we provide them in education already? I think the answer is no. I think history students are really good at talking about evidence, and so history teachers, but what tools do we give them to deconstruct and also construct narratives? And what I've been trying to say here, I guess, through my rambling, not very well organised narrative about Tavistock Square Gardens, is that, oh, by the way, it's spring here and very beautiful. So there are stories people like to tell, aren't there, about spring and blossom and trees and so on. But anyway, I'll come back to that, because it's one of the themes of a poem that I'll be using in my seminar. But what I'm going to be trying to be doing in the summer is think about the cognitive tools kids need to deconstruct stories, that teachers need to help them do that, and also a critical approach to narrative and storytelling. because that's what I think history needs. So I look forward to the SHP